Okay, awesome.
Okay, hello, Kim Albright. So, how would you say that your movie, with love and a major organ, interprets the modern day world?
Well, um, I think it makes fun of it. Well, I,
Mhm.
I hope it does at least.
Right.
And pokes fun of and pokes fun of our relationship with technology. And how we're so obsessed with our phones and our apps and our devices and all this, and how it does bring us closer in certain respects. For instance, Zoom. Here we are having this conversation, and we're miles and miles apart. Yet it can be kind of really stifling in terms of human connection sometimes. So I think it has the ability to connect us, but also alienate us and make us feel quite lonely sometimes.
Mm,
So, I think that's one thing that the film does in terms of kind of taking a look at our society and how we connect and how um, sometimes we're a little afraid or reluctant, not everyone, but some, to sort of love wholeheartedly. And what's that even look like nowadays to kind of give your heart and yourself fully to someone? So I hope at least it sort of takes a look at that and examines that a little bit, and how we love and how we connect and how we all have different ways of going about it. Sometimes a little smothering, or sometimes kind of
mhm.
more pragmatically, or using our head versus our heart, or versus our heart versus our head, and how anyhow. So I think it's quite a mouthful, but I hope that the film kind of looks at different ways in which we love, and there's no right or wrong way, but everyone sort of goes about it in a very different way. um yeah, and yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So
Hopefully that
that's like
yeah.
the concept. That's like those are the ideas within the text. But what were some like
Mhm.
concrete technical decisions you made to create that bizarre feeling we get in the movie?
Oh, well, I wanted definitely, in terms of their performances, I wanted the actors to, at least those apart from Annabelle, to kind of, uh, have sort of in their performance sort of, hold on, how did I describe it to them? Um So Annabelle's this person that kind of, I wanted her to sort of feel, be it good or bad, kind of without hesitation. Whereas I wanted the other ones to kind of, we played around with sort of a bit more of like robotic or
Right. Right.
emotionless. Yeah, we played around with this kind of speaking without emotion. And sometimes, we had lots of takes where we tried various degrees of this. But I for those actors that weren't Annabelle, I kind of wanted them to play around with, okay, well, how do you say that, but in a sort of emotionless way? And
Mhm.
sometimes it works and sometimes it didn't. Or sometimes as the scene went on, emotions start to build up. But then it's like, okay, if you feel it building up, try and suppress it back down again. Um,
Mm.
as if it's sort of occurring to the character, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting too emotionally involved. I must shut this down." So, for instance, Laverne, I don't know if you remember her, Annabelle's boss. There's this scene where kind of they have this moment where Laverne sort of connects with Annabelle and sort of sees herself in Annabelle, but at the same time realizes this and sort of has to shut herself down. And I can't kind of connect too much. I can't kind of get too involved. I have to take a deep breath and just sort of get tune in with my emotions and shut them back down again. So that was one thing I tried to do, kind of technically, I guess, with the actors. Another thing I tried to do kind of visually with the DP is depict the world, and in the color in the grade, but in terms of how we depicted the outside world. So we shot in Vancouver, and I really wanted to try and embrace kind of the gray and the cold and the rainy atmosphere. I wanted to lean into the kind of misery that Vancouver could provide, and
Uh-huh.
just again, just to sort of connect to this idea of, like, not sort of tapping in with our emotions, keeping the things very much in control and at bay. Whereas the scenes that heavily involved Annabelle, or no, sorry, the scenes where she's sort of diving into her emotions, and she's in her room and she's recording with a tape recorder. Um, those are scenes that are entirely the opposite, where, we play with color, particularly purple, this color that connects with Annabelle. And you kind of, yeah, it's just sort of let our emotions and imaginations go wild. So I wanted to contrast those kind of outdoorsy Vancouver, cold, grim, miserable scenes with the ones where she's like emoting and feeling a lot and getting her emotions down. So yeah, that was something we tried to do visually in the grade and also in the cinematography. Um, let me see what else. Anyway, those are, I think,
That's a
are
lot of
two
stuff.
examples.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
um,
great.
so tell me, Julia Lederer wrote the script. So tell me about giving it the first read. What were some thoughts that popped up immediately?
Well, so it's based on a play that she wrote kind of over 10 years ago. And
Oh,
I think yeah, I first read a draft of the script back in 2017, thereabouts. It was a
oh,
very first early draft. And I think at the time, one thing that her and I both recognized was the fact that, okay, now we're trying to turn this into a film, so it needs to be visual. And I think
mm,
that's one thing that and I think also the script at the time, it was still very much a three-hander, and we needed
mm,
to kind of open it up more to the world. What's the world of this film like? What are the other
mm,
people like? What does Annabelle do for work, and what are her colleagues like? And what's the sort of wider world of the film like? So
mm,
we really needed to tap into that and kind of figure that out, and also so open it up to the world, but also in terms of the characters, we needed to kind of pad it out now with a lot more characters, and then sort of it forced us to think about like, how do they act, how do they respond, how do they run their day-to-day lives. So yeah, it was about making it visual, opening it up to the wider world, and also just sort of enhancing it with characters that weren't more George, Mona, or Annabelle.
mm.
Yeah, because the play was very much sort of centered around the three of them, but and that was it really. And then you have like the subway scenes. So where they meet in the park was the subway back in the play. So we had to sort of change things also to kind of adapt to our budget. And shooting on the subway was something that we thought would be a little bit problematic, or just a bit more expensive. So we tried to simplify things as well, to do with budget. But yeah, those were sort of the key things, like sort of really making it visual and what's this world like and how does it look and feel. Um, yeah, which was
Cool.
fun, super fun to
I
kind of look
met
at.
Julia and Anna. I interviewed them at TIFF with their short film.
Oh,
It's Nothing.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
you've met them before.
I have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. Small world.
Small World. Yeah, they were great. And then Anna was in that movie Violation that I loved.
Yes.
Love
Yeah.
Violation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, when that came out, I think that was during COVID, and she
Yeah.
was saying, "Oh, I'm just working on this small little indie Canadian film." Like, what? And then I saw it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is
Yeah.
you downplayed that massively."
It's
Yeah.
so it's so tough, but I felt like it was believable. I
Yeah.
love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
do you enjoy Fantasia Fest? Have you been here before?
I've never been before.
Okay.
Never been.
Have
Yeah,
people
to be honest,
given you
it's so funny because
expectations? Like have
sorry,
they
say
told
that again.
you have people like told you what it's like here?
Not really.
Okay.
Tell me.
The audience is wild. They're pretty funny. They get
Amazing.
really worked up, like they're not like talking throughout the movie, but like in the opening, like commercials or opening credits, they're characters. And there's this thing when the movie starts, everybody meows. It's it's
I
it's
love that.
it's completely. I've never seen it anywhere else. The first time I saw it, I was thinking, what where the hell am I right now? But apparently it's some
Yeah.
inside joke that goes back to the 70s.
Oh, amazing. I'm
Yeah.
really, really excited. I've never been before. And I actually grew up in Montreal, but I left
Oh, okay.
sort of in my early 20s. So
Mm,
I've never been, but it was great when we premiered at South by Southwest. I didn't really know what to expect, but we had one screening. It was like a Friday night at 9 p.m. and the crowd, they were so into it.
mhm.
And it sounds like it will be similar to Fantasia. Like they were
Yeah.
laughing in places I just never really thought were very funny, or they just got really kind of they really responded quite obviously throughout the course of the film. And so I'm looking forward to that. I love an audience that just gets into it.
I'm sure you'll get that. I'm sure you'll have a similar, a different, but a similar sensation. So,
Yeah.
we were talking about sort of concepts and techniques. How would you describe the entire experience of watching With Love in a Major Organ?
Oh man, well, I mean, I think it's largely rooted in what Annabelle goes through.
Mhm.
If I'm
Mhm.
totally honest, like I
Yeah.
think it's I think it's a bit of a roller coaster because like the first half of the film where she has her heart and we see her
Mhm.
kind of experiencing the ups and downs of kind of connecting so much and the
Mhm.
heartbreak, like that's quite devastating. I think like she has the bachelorette party, she sort of has her kind of that fight with Casey, and then her mom dies, and that's like so gut wrenching. And then she
Mhm.
pulls out this heart, and hopefully that's sort of like the midpoint in the film. And then from there I'm like, okay, we're at rock bottom here, what the hell's going to happen next? But then when we see her without a heart,
Mhm.
then that for me in a way that's the part that's like, okay, now that like the juicy stuff happens, because like we get to kind of see her gradual, like she's sort of at this rock bottom point, but then she sort of starts to go in this whole other decline that I think hopefully audiences won't fully expect. Because like what's life without a heart? And but she initially kind of relishes in it and succeeds and does well at work and stuff and has no friends, but that's a good thing. And so gradually, like, things are on the up, but they're actually on the down. So I think it's I hope it's gonna kind of be this like up and down experience. And then
Mhm.
of course, at the very end where she kind of ultimately needs her heart back, like that's another new low. So, and of course, peppered in with that, you have like George's ups and downs, and you have Mona's kind of plate smashing, and then trying to find her son. And that's a bit of like a horror show in itself. So I hope it's kind of a lot of this with like the other characters kind of, adding their own fireworks into the mix. Um, yeah, I hope it will be like quite a true roller coaster ride for everyone. That's sort of like quite unpredictable, I hope,
Yeah.
but I guess we'll see.
I thought it was really interesting. I called it like what was the term? It was like mild surrealism. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not heavy duty, and like usually with surrealism there's like like extreme violence and stuff. This is like
Uh-huh.
I described this, and there was another movie. It's like when you wake up, you're about to wake up, and then you're asleep for 5 minutes before waking up. It was
Yeah.
like that kind of
Yeah.
feeling. That's what I'm feeling here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really well put. Like you're asleep for those 5 minutes. You're kind of not fully in that kind of world. You're still in the
Yeah.
reality and real life, but you're sort of stepping away from it. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Thank you. Who is your
Yeah.
favorite
'Cause
director?
it is. Yeah. Because it's still quite grounded, I think, but you
Mm,
have these kind of random moments, sort of slightly surreal, awkward moments of like
yeah.
pulling out your heart and like what the hell, and then living without a heart, like sort of, yeah, we kind of step away from reality. It's just like a side step away, but still kind of with one foot in the real world. Uh,
Yeah.
I like to think at least. Um,
Yeah, I think
so yeah, I
so.
think that's
Absolutely.
a good way.
It's not unrelatable. Like
Mhm.
we kind of get what's going on here. We recognize it as our world as an expression.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
So
like
who's your
maybe
favorite
well,
director?
apart from the heart removal, and oh god, this is a tough one.
Right.
Oh man, I have a bunch, like it always
Right.
changes.
What about
Um,
right now? If you just had to pick one.
okay, and this is really embarrassing because I can't remember his name, but
Okay.
it's the director of, because I just saw the film a couple weeks ago and I absolutely loved it, and I keep thinking about it, is oh my god, the director that did Force Majeure, uh
Oh
and he
no.
did,
I don't know
oh
what that is. Sorry?
okay, 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 no, 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 no. You're gonna know this one. You're gonna know this one. Hold on, hold on, hold on,
Okay.
hold on,
I'm ready.
hold on. Give me a second. He did this film. I'm just on IMDb, and I just have to Google it because my
Yeah.
memory is so
I
terrible these
know. I'm
days.
horrible like that too.
And
In my
like,
30s,
and
this
I
just falling
had to.
apart.
Oh, I'm in my face. It's fizzled out entirely. Hold on. He just Triangle of Sadness. That's the other
Oh
film
yeah,
that
yeah,
he
yeah. That
just
guy.
did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Ruben Ostlund.
Right,
There you
right, right,
go.
right, right.
That I just can't stop thinking of that film. Yeah, in terms of how it blends kind of like comedy and satire,
Mhm.
and I guess it's not hugely surreal, but there's elements that are like this would never happen in today's world. But
Right.
but anyhow, yeah,
Okay.
a super fan of his stuff at the moment. Um,
I haven't seen The
anyhow,
Square. I've seen Triangle of Sadness.
I tried to get into the square, but I'm like three-quarters of the way through, and I couldn't really get into it as much as
Sure.
Triangle of Sadness. But anyhow, Triangle of Sadness. Oh, so good. So good.
All right. So what's
Um,
next for you?
what's next? Okay, so I am developing this feature. So I did a short film with Anna maybe about like 4 years ago called The Director.
Okay.
And it's about this woman that hires a director to direct her life. So again, kind of like operating in a world that's like a sidestep of our own. And the writer of that, her name's Maria Hummer, and she's written a feature version of this, and I'm so, so, so excited by it. So we're still developing it. It'll be a Canadian UK co-pro, so I think getting funding will be a bit of a mission, but that's one thing. Another thing I'm working on is this kind of it's this anthology series that I'm developing with other um, Filipino filmmakers, and it's looking at kind of uh oh gosh, kind of no, I have to get this right. Give me a second. Martial law. Okay. Martial
Mm,
law that was declared in the Philippines back in the 80s. And it
mm,
looks at it's this anthology series where every filmmaker kind of makes their own kind of short film, I guess, that sits within sort of a bigger umbrella of films. And anyhow, it's this sort of anthology sort of looking at martial law and Marcos,
mm,
Ferdinand Marcos back in the 1980s. So we're developing that and slowly getting that one off the ground, and also just trying to develop a series with some friends.
ooh,
And I have yet to sort of know what it is going to be. It's quite early days, but we're toying with a comedy horror series.
fun.
And yeah, very early days, but we know it's sort of that genre. And we're just trying to kind of figure out what we want it to be about, who we want it to be about, and yeah, the ins and outs of it before we kind of dive into the writing. Um, but yeah, that's kind of, yeah, juggling those things at the moment. um and also I guess just riding the wave with this film, and just excited to see where it's going to end up in terms of festivals. And
Mm,
yeah, because it's still quite early days despite the fact that like the film was got out in March. But yeah, I feel like this is still an early stage of our festival run,
mhm.
so I'm excited to see where it ends up, and how audiences respond, and where it goes. So
All right.
we'll
Well,
see.
thanks so much for your time. It was lots of fun.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Enjoy Fantasia. Are you in Montreal?
Yeah.